Welcome to Meet the Candidate with your host, Sue Lonnie Madsen. Meet the Candidate is your opportunity to see local candidates and hear about the experiences that have shaped their lives. Meet the Candidate is a nonpartisan community project brought to you by our friends at Greater Spokane Incorporated, Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe, We Vote, and Better Spokane. Now, here's Sue Lonnie.
Okay, well, welcome to Meet the Candidate, and my guest is Lisa Brown, who's a candidate for the 5th Congressional District, U.S. Representative. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello, Sue Lonnie. Good to see you again.
Yeah, we've bumped into each other a number of times over the years. I think I first met you on a rafting trip on the Spokane River.
That's right.
It was a lot of fun.
That was quite a while ago.
I want to do that again. So this is, like I said, this is just about getting acquainted and chatting about things that voters might not know about you. So starting with just the simple, where did you grow up?
I grew up in central Illinois, a little town called Robinson. It's an agricultural county, Crawford County, and Robinson was the county seat. So you might think it would be a little bit like a small town outside of Spokane.
Okay, like a Davenport kind of size.
Exactly.
Okay. And so from there, in school, what kind of activities were you involved in?
I was in 4-H, and I was in Campfire Girls. I participated in just about every high school activity you can think of, from French Club to the school newspaper. We didn't actually have girls' athletics then.
Yes, I do remember that.
This was before that. That happened my senior year, and my younger sisters took advantage of that. So I played a little tennis and softball outside of school as well.
Okay. And so that sounds like a lovely childhood. And after that, did you do some additional training or college that before you started working full-time?
I came from a family of 5. I was the oldest, and I wanted to go to college. I wanted to go away to the University of Illinois, which was 100 miles away, where the freshman class was bigger than my hometown. And so in order for that to happen, I had to both work. So I, in addition to babysitting, started working at about age 15 at a fast food restaurant, and also pursued scholarships, which back in the day, the federal financial aid actually covered tuition, which was awesome. So I was, in fact, able to go to the University of Illinois. I studied economics there. My parents, when I first told them, thought I meant home economics and said, that's a great major for a girl. Then I went on and went to the University of Colorado and continued to study economics. So by the time I arrived in Spokane in the 1980s, I was completing my PhD in economics and working on my dissertation.
What drew you into that field?
So economics for me has always been about the big picture questions of how do we as human beings divide up the material world. So why and how are people rich and poor, and countries rich and poor? And to me, economics was fascinating because it was about those big picture questions of things that can impact you that you are not necessarily under your control. Like you graduate from high school and there's a high rate of unemployment. So it's harder for you than it was for your older brother, things like that. Always the big picture and the unanswered questions of the system of the economy is what I was always fascinated by.
Okay. What did you do your dissertation on?
My dissertation was on how economists looked at labor force participation of women, and specifically how they didn't always get it right when it came to women's labor force participation rates. So I was looking at the theories of women participating in the labor market, and how as the economy changed, as industrial jobs started, you might say the middle class started to shrink, and the breadwinner homemaker family didn't work as well as it used to. Mm-hmm. What were the consequences of that for women in the labor market? Women were both pulled into the labor market by their husband's income falling because of inflation. They were pushing themselves into the labor market as they got more education. And I talked about how certain things like childcare and the volunteerism that women often do in a community were not as compatible with the two working parent household, and how challenging it was for the single parent household.
Okay, and I know you were a single parent. I've met your son Lucas, and what's he doing these days?
So Lucas is in his 20s now. He is a musician, plays with local bands. Mm-hmm. I was really thrilled last weekend to hear him play at a special show called the M Show, which was the Spokane Symphony with some alternative music, and he played with his friend Eli. So you had, if you can imagine this, both symphony and beatbox. And Lucas assisted with that and came up, and he's quite a guitar player and did a real great job with the final song of the evening.
Yeah, I know he's definitely is a serious musician. So, okay, so you'd studied economics and you were teaching, I think.
So when I came to Spokane, it was actually to visit friends, and I thought I might be here for a few months. My friend had a summer job, and as it turned out, there was a job opening at Eastern in the economics department, and my boyfriend at the time was also an economics major, and we both applied for the job, and they called us in and said, "You've both applied for the job," and we said yes, and they offered us the opportunity to split the position, which was actually perfect. We both got to work half-time, and since we were both writing our dissertations and doing our research, it worked out really well. And as you can tell, one thing led to another, and I never left.
Okay. So what prompted you to step up to run for public office? And I know you've actually held office before at the state level.
In the 1980s, I worked more on what you would call the activist or issue side of politics. So if there was an issue I cared about, I would get involved in it. And for example, I helped organize what I believe was the first Women Take Back the Night March to bring awareness about the issue of domestic violence. And because of that involvement in community organizations, people would say to me, "You should think about running for office." And I got an award from the Washington Commission for the Humanities, where I went around the state of Washington and I would speak at the AAUW or the library, and it was a little talk based on my dissertation. It was called "Man for the Field, Woman for the Hearth," sort of, again, that change in the economy and the family and et cetera. And as I was giving that talk around the state, I really started to understand how the state level of politics had a big impact on the things I cared about, and people would say, "You should think about running for office." And after that was said to me, maybe the second or third or fourth time, I really started taking it seriously. And then in 1992, there was an unexpected opening at the state representative level. The current state senator, Lois Stratton, decided at the last minute not to run again, or maybe she had decided earlier but not announced. So there was an opening, and I stepped up with a group of friends and said, this is our next project. Lisa will run for state rep.
Okay, well, so this is your opportunity to answer that last question with the 1-minute elevator speech. How do you see the duties of this elected office, and why should voters choose you, the office you're running for now?
So I'm running for Congress in the 5th Congressional District, the 10 counties of eastern Washington, and I see the job as truly being a representative. So I'm a problem solver. I listen to the people I represent, try to bring them together, find common ground, and then get results. So when I was at WSU, I worked with people, and we were able to bring the second medical school to the state of Washington. When I was in the state legislature, I listened to great ideas that people had and helped start programs like the breast and cervical cancer screening program. I really feel that people feel that Congress is broken right now, and it's too bitterly divided along partisan lines, and so that my job is to work across the political aisle, across the coasts from west to east, and try to find common ground and get some solutions that work for Eastern Washington farmers, veterans, students, and families.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you could come in today, Lisa. Thank you, and hope you have a happy campaign trail.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Meet the Candidate. Spokane Talks thanks our community-minded partners, Greater Spokane Incorporated, the Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe We Vote, and Better Spokane for helping make Meet the Candidate possible.